My father forged power of attorney to take out $180,000 against my house for my brother's business. Brother moved in, changed my locks, and the whole family says I'm tearing us apart by pressing charges. Hi everyone. Today's story will blow your mind, but really quick, if you enjoy this content, hit that subscribe button. Channel's been a bit quiet lately, and your support keeps it all going. Let's jump in. Original post. I'm James, 26M, and I need help understanding what's happening with my mortgage. 3 months ago, I started receiving notices about missed payments on a second mortgage I never took out. My house was a gift from my late grandmother. She left it to me specifically in her will 2 years ago, and I've been living there ever since, making regular payments on the original mortgage she'd had on it. The confusion started when I got a call from a lender I'd never heard of, claiming I was behind on payments for a $180,000 loan taken out 6 months ago. I told them it was a mistake, but they insisted they had all the proper documentation with my signature. I immediately pulled my credit report and sure enough, there it was, a second mortgage on my property that I knew nothing about. My father Robert, 58M, has always been entrepreneurial, always talking about the next big opportunity. My younger brother Michael, 24M, recently graduated with a business degree and has been working on some tech startup idea. Dad's been his biggest cheerleader, constantly talking about how Michael's going to make the family rich. Meanwhile, I work as a project manager at a construction company. Decent money, but nothing flashy. The relationship with my father has always been complicated. He never quite forgave me for choosing a regular job over joining his various business ventures over the years. When Grandma left me the house and left Michael money for his education, Dad said it was unfair, that property appreciates while education is just an expense. I reminded him that Grandma's will was her choice, but he's brought it up multiple times since. Last week, things got stranger. Michael showed up at my door with a U-Haul, saying he was moving into our house. When I asked what he was talking about, he said Dad told him that since the business loan was secured against the house, he was now a co-owner. I told him to leave, and he got upset, saying I was being selfish and that family shares success. I've been trying to get answers from my father, but he keeps saying we'll discuss it as a family, and that I'm overreacting. He mentioned something about power of attorney and looking out for my best interests, but I never gave him power of attorney. My mother Patricia, 55F, says she doesn't want to get involved in business matters, but I can tell she knows something. The lender is now threatening foreclosure proceedings if the payments aren't brought current. I've been paying my original mortgage faithfully, but this second one is already $15,000 behind apparently. I can't afford both mortgages. The second one alone is $2,100 a month. What are my options here? Could my father have actually done this without my knowledge? The signatures on the documents look like mine, but I swear I never signed anything. Update 1, 2 weeks later. I can barely type this without my hands shaking from anger. I hired a lawyer after your comments on my original post, and what we've discovered is beyond what I imagined. My father forged power of attorney documents. The lawyer pulled all the paperwork from the lender, and there it was, a power of attorney form supposedly signed by me, giving my father complete authority over my financial and property decisions. The kicker? It was notarized by his friend Thomas, who runs a small insurance office. Thomas is now claiming he thought I was there, that maybe he was confused, but my lawyer says that's bullshit. He knows he's looking at potential criminal charges. The forensic document examiner my lawyer brought in confirmed what I suspected. The signatures were forged. My father apparently practiced my signature. We found out because he used the wrong version. I changed how I sign my name slightly after a wrist injury last year, but the documents have my old signature style. Here's where it gets worse. The $180,000? Already gone. Every penny went into Michael's tech startup, which is apparently a cryptocurrency trading platform that's already hemorrhaging money. Michael wasn't even trying to hide it when I confronted him. He said, and I quote, "Dad said you were too selfish to see the bigger picture, so he had to make the executive decision for the family's future." I met with them at my mother's insistence, hoping to resolve this without destroying the family. The meeting was a disaster. My father sat there with this smug expression, explaining how he was doing me a favor. "That house is just sitting there while you live in it," he said. "It's not generating wealth. Michael's business could make us all millionaires. Sometimes leadership means making hard decisions others are too scared to make." When I told him I was pressing charges, he actually laughed. "You'd send your own father to prison over money? Your grandmother would be ashamed. She left you that house to take care of the family, not to hoard it for yourself." Michael chimed in with his own delusions. He pulled out his laptop and showed me a presentation about how the house was now optimized as a financial instrument, and how my equity contribution would yield exponential returns once his platform took off. He actually had a slide showing me as a founding investor in his company. I asked him one simple question: can you pay the mortgage payment this month? His answer: that's not how investments work, James. You have to spend money to make money. In 18 months, we'll buy you 2 houses. My mother finally spoke up at this point, admitting she knew about it from the beginning. Robert had told her it was a surprise investment for my future, that I'd thank them later. She said she thought it was strange but trusted my father's business acumen. The man who's declared bankruptcy twice and had 3 failed businesses had business acumen. I've officially filed a police report. The detective seemed very interested, especially when I showed him the forged documents and the forensic analyst's report. He said forging power of attorney for financial gain is a serious felony, and Thomas the notary is also in significant trouble. Michael is still texting me, alternating between calling me selfish and begging me not to ruin his business. He keeps saying I'm destroying the family over a misunderstanding, and that Dad was just trying to help. He's now claiming that since he's been making improvements to the house, he has tenant rights. The lawyer is working on an emergency injunction to prevent any further damage and to start the process of unwinding the fraudulent mortgage. He says we have a strong case, but it's going to be a long process. The worst part? My cousins are now texting me, saying I'm tearing the family apart over money. My Aunt Linda called me crying, saying I need to forgive my father because that's what family does. The narrative they're spinning is that I'm the greedy one who won't share grandmother's gift with my brother. Update 2, 1 month later. The situation has escalated beyond anything I could have imagined. Michael actually moved into my house while I was at work. I came home to find he'd changed the locks and had a locksmith receipt showing he was on the deed. He's not. He just showed them the fraudulent mortgage paperwork. I had to call the police to get into my own home. The officers were confused at first, but when I showed them my documentation and the ongoing fraud case number, they made Michael let me in. But here's the kicker: he didn't leave. He's now claiming tenant rights and says I have to formally evict him. He's moved into the guest bedroom and set up what he calls his office in my dining room, with multiple computer monitors and cryptocurrency mining equipment that's driving my electricity bill through the roof. The confrontation when I got inside was surreal. Michael was sitting at my dining room table, on a conference call with potential investors, referring to my house as our headquarters. When I tried to interrupt, he muted himself and whispered, "You're embarrassing yourself in front of serious business people." The next morning, my father showed up with a contractor, saying they were there to assess our asset for optimization. He wanted to convert my garage into office space for Michael's business. When I refused to let the contractor in, my father stood in my driveway and loudly told the contractor that his mentally unstable son was having a breakdown and to come back when cooler heads prevail. My neighbors are starting to ask questions. Mrs. Jennifer from next door pulled me aside and asked if I was having financial troubles since she'd seen so many different people coming and going. The HOA has sent me a notice about running a business from a residential property. Then came the legal bombshell. My father, in his infinite wisdom, has hired his own lawyer and is actually countersuing me. He's claiming that 1. I verbally agreed to the loan and am now trying to back out. 2. The power of attorney was real and I'm lying about the forgery. 3. I've been psychologically abusive to Michael by threatening to make him homeless. 4. The house should have been split between Michael and me anyway, and he was just correcting grandmother's oversight. His lawyer, somehow, is his friend Richard from his golf club who mostly does DUI cases. Richard sent my lawyer a letter that was so poorly written, with so many legal inaccuracies, that my attorney actually laughed while reading it. The criminal investigation has progressed. Thomas the notary cracked immediately when questioned by police. He admitted my father paid him $5,000 to notarize the documents without me present. He's now cooperating fully with the investigation. The detective told me they're building a strong case for fraud, forgery, and conspiracy charges. The financial situation is deteriorating rapidly. The second mortgage is now in pre-foreclosure. The lender doesn't care that it was fraudulent. They say that's between me and law enforcement, but the debt exists and needs to be paid while we sort it out legally. My lawyer is working on an emergency injunction to stop the foreclosure, but it's taking time. Michael's business, meanwhile, is a complete disaster. I did some research and found out his revolutionary trading platform is just a poorly designed website with no actual functionality. The $180,000 went to $50,000 for marketing, Instagram influencers who promoted it once and disappeared. A $30,000 for office furniture and equipment, now in my dining room. $40,000 for Michael's salary, he paid himself as CEO. A $25,000 for a company car, a BMW that he drives. A $35,000 unaccounted for, probably more, salary. The platform has exactly 0 active users and no revenue. My mother called me crying last week, not to apologize, but to beg me not to press charges. She said my father is having chest pains from the stress and that I'm killing him. When I pointed out that he committed multiple felonies, she said, "He's your father. He changed your diapers." As if that gives him the right to steal my house. The extended family is fully divided now. My Uncle David and Aunt Barbara support me, saying my father has always been a schemer. But my Aunt Angela and Uncle Christopher are Team Robert, saying I should have helped Michael without being forced to. The family group chat has devolved into a war zone, with cousins taking sides and my grandmother's memory being invoked by everyone to support their position. Update 3, 6 weeks later. Michael is still in my house. The eviction process is moving at a glacial pace. He's now claiming he's made $30,000 in improvements to the property, including the mining equipment installation and his office setup. His lawyer, yes, he got his own lawyer now, paid for with the last of the fraudulent loan money, is arguing that he has an equity stake due to these improvements. Living with him is unbearable. He treats me like I'm the intruder. He has client meetings via Zoom at all hours, always introducing himself from our corporate headquarters. He's eaten all my food, refuses to contribute to groceries, and actually had the audacity to complain that my internet isn't fast enough for his enterprise needs. Last Tuesday, I woke up to find he'd listed my address on his company website as their official headquarters. I'm now getting mail for Blockchain Solutions Unlimited, and had 2 potential investors show up at my door wanting a tour of the facilities. The criminal case took an interesting turn. My father's friend, Richard the lawyer, apparently advised him to claim mental incompetence. So now my father is pretending to have early-onset dementia to avoid prosecution. He showed up to his police interview acting confused, claiming he doesn't remember any mortgage or why Michael lives in my house. The act fell apart when the detective showed him footage from a bank security camera the day he submitted the fraudulent documents, where he's clearly lucid and even jokes with the bank manager about finally getting my stubborn son on board with progress. The prosecutor says they have enough to charge him with forgery, identity theft, a wire fraud, a conspiracy to commit fraud. Thomas the notary has already pled guilty to his part and is testifying against my father. He admitted that this wasn't the first time he'd done favors for Robert, though nothing this serious before. The civil case is moving faster than the criminal one. My lawyer successfully got an emergency injunction to prevent any further borrowing against the house. We're also pursuing damages for the fraudulent loan amount, illegal fees, emotional distress, a damage to credit, a lost wages from dealing with this. The mortgage company has actually been somewhat helpful once they realized the loan was fraudulent. They're working with us on a resolution, though they want their money back one way or another. Update 4, 2 months later. This week, everything came to a head in a way I never expected. Michael's business officially collapsed when his website got hacked. Turns out spending nothing on security was a bad idea. The hackers replaced his homepage with "Scam Alert" in giant red letters. His remaining investors, his college friends who put in $500 each, demanded their money back. He had a complete meltdown in my living room, throwing things and screaming that I sabotaged him. The eviction was finally approved, but the night before he was supposed to leave, my father showed up with what I can only describe as an intervention squad. He brought my mother, Aunt Angela, Uncle Christopher, and 3 cousins. They sat in my living room, uninvited, and presented me with a family resolution contract that Richard had drawn up. The terms were insane. I would drop all criminal charges. Michael would become a legal 25% owner of my house. I would pay for Michael's business losses. My father would receive a monthly consulting fee from my salary. We would tell everyone this was all a misunderstanding. When I refused to sign, my father stood up and gave what he clearly thought was a powerful speech. Family means sacrifice, James. Your grandmother knew that. That's why she really left that house to you, because she knew you'd take care of everyone. You're spitting on her memory by being selfish. I finally snapped. Grandma left me the house because she saw you for exactly what you are, a narcissistic con man who thinks everyone owes him something. She told me before she died to never let you get your hands on it. She knew you'd pull something like this. The room went silent. My mother gasped. My father's face turned purple. She said that? He asked quietly. She said a lot more than that, I replied. She said you stole from her retirement account in the 90s. She said you tried to get her to reverse mortgage her house for your restaurant scheme. She said the only reason she didn't press charges was because of Mom and us kids. My mother turned to my father. Is that true? His silence was all the confirmation needed. The next day, two things happened. First, the prosecutor officially filed charges against my father. He was arrested at his office, a wee workspace he can't afford, in front of his business associates. The local news picked up the story. Local man charged with defrauding son out of $180,000 through forged documents. Second, Michael finally realized the gravity of the situation when the police served him with an eviction notice and a subpoena to testify in the criminal case. He broke down crying, not because he felt bad, but because he realized his name was now associated with fraud and his dreams of being a tech entrepreneur were over. Update 5. 3 months later. The criminal trial is set for next month. My father is out on bail, paid for by my Aunt Angela, who put up her car as collateral. He's been calling extended family members, trying to control the narrative, but the news coverage has made that difficult. The headline, "Father Forges Documents to Steal Son's Inherited Home," doesn't leave much room for interpretation. Michael moved back in with our parents after the eviction. I heard through my cousin Sarah that he spends all day in his room, trying to salvage something from his failed business. He's been telling people I'm the reason it failed, that if I'd just cooperated, they'd all be rich by now. The delusion is strong. My mother filed for divorce last month. It turns out my grandmother's accusations were just the tip of the iceberg. Once she started looking into their finances, she discovered my father had been hiding debt, taking out credit cards in her name, and had gambled away most of their retirement savings on various sure-thing investments. She's staying with her sister Barbara now. The house situation is slowly resolving. The fraudulent mortgage company has agreed to a settlement where they'll cancel the loan in exchange for a smaller payment that my father's assets, what little he has, will cover as part of the criminal restitution. My credit is slowly recovering, though it'll take years to fully repair. The family is permanently fractured. Those who supported my father have gone quiet, especially after more stories came out about people he'd scammed over the years. My uncle David told me about a time Robert convinced him to invest in a food truck that never materialized. My cousin Jennifer mentioned he'd borrowed her identity to get a business credit card when she was in college. I've installed security cameras around my house and changed every lock twice. I've also put fraud alerts on all my accounts and monitor my credit weekly. The paranoia is real, but my lawyer says it's justified given what happened. Last week, I got a letter from Michael. It was 4 pages of him explaining how I've ruined his life, how his business would have succeeded if I'd just given it time, and how I'm the reason our family is destroyed. He ended it with, "I hope you're happy living alone in that house, knowing you chose it over your own brother." I wrote back a single line, "I didn't choose a house over my brother. I chose justice over theft." Final update, 3 months later. The trial happened last week. My father was found guilty on all counts. Forgery, guilty. Identity theft, guilty. A wire fraud, guilty. A conspiracy to commit fraud, guilty. He was sentenced to 3 years in federal prison with 2 years supervised probation after. He has to pay full restitution, though we all know he doesn't have the money. During sentencing, he gave a speech about how he was just trying to help his family succeed and how the system is rigged against entrepreneurs. The judge was not impressed. Thomas the notary got 18 months probation and lost his notary license permanently. His testimony was crucial in the conviction. Michael wasn't charged criminally as the prosecutor couldn't prove he knew about the forgery beforehand. However, he's now working at a call center and living in a studio apartment. His entrepreneurial dreams are on hold indefinitely. He still won't speak to me except to send the occasional text about how I destroyed his future. My mother's divorce was finalized. She got what little was left after the debts were paid, basically her car and some savings. She's rebuilding her life at 55, and we're slowly repairing our relationship. She apologized for not seeing who my father really was and for enabling him for so long. The extended family has mostly moved on, though things will never be the same. Family gatherings are split now. Those who testified for my father don't attend the same events I do. My grandmother's house, the one she specifically left to me to keep safe from my father's schemes, is still mine. I'm living in it peacefully now, though I still sometimes wake up expecting to find Michael in the dining room. The financial recovery continues. The fraudulent mortgage is officially void, though the legal fees ate up most of my savings. I'm working overtime to rebuild, but at least I'm rebuilding on solid ground. I learned something valuable through all this. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. My father showed me who he was many times over the years. I just wanted to believe family meant something different to him. It didn't. To him, family meant opportunity, and love meant leverage. My grandmother knew. She protected me the only way she could, by leaving me something my father couldn't talk me out of. At least, not without committing federal crimes. The house is quiet now. No more client meetings in my dining room. No more cryptocurrency mining driving up my electric bill. No more family interventions in my living room. Just me, in the home my grandmother wanted me to have, finally at peace. Sometimes Michael still drives by. I see his BMW, yes, he somehow kept it, slow down as it passes. I wonder what he thinks about, if he's learned anything, if he understands yet that our father didn't just steal from me, he stole from Michael too, just in a different way. He stole his chance to succeed on his own merits by teaching him that taking shortcuts and using people is the way to get ahead. I'm in therapy now, working through the trauma of having your own family try to destroy you for money. The therapist says it's more common than you'd think, that money and inheritance bring out the worst in people. She says I did the right thing by pressing charges, that enabling criminal behavior in the name of family loyalty isn't love, it's dysfunction. I still have the letter my grandmother wrote me when she updated her will. She said, "James, I'm leaving you the house because you're the only one who understands that a home is more than its monetary value. Your father sees everything as a transaction. Don't let him turn my gift into one. Promise me you'll protect it." I kept my promise, Grandma, even when it cost me everything else. The greatest revenge isn't destroying those who wronged you. It's refusing to let them destroy what matters to you. My father wanted to turn my inheritance into his opportunity. Instead, his greed became his downfall, and I'm still standing in the home my grandmother wanted me to have. Justice doesn't always feel like victory. Sometimes it feels like survival. But I survived, the house survived, and the truth finally came out. That has to be enough. Because it's all I have left.